Good morning, everyone. I'm your host, Suchi, and welcome to AI Minute Mondays. As you've seen over the past 1+ year of episodes on AI Minute Mondays, AI is everywhere. From healthcare to beauty to learning, AI has overtaken us in all of these different fields. And as AI tools start getting better and better, the tendency and temptation is there to rely on AI for all of the heavy lifting. And this brings us to a very important question. As AI tools start writing, building, creating, designing, and even making decisions for us, what happens to the skills that are deeply human? For example, our creativity, our critical thinking, our judgment, and our imagination. Joining us today on AI Minute Mondays is Dr. Pronita M, who's the founder of Mind Antics, and she's also the author of a very fascinating new research paper on AI and creativity. And we are going to be talking about creativity, cognitive shortcuts, and using AI as a thinking partner. So, Pranita, welcome to the show. So glad to have you back once again. And for the sake of our new viewers, if you can share a little bit about yourself and your journey, that would be great.
Thank you so much, Suchi. It's always a pleasure to be on your show. So, my focus is on innovation and more specifically in the cognitive aspects of creativity. And by that, I mean the what kind of thinking patterns can lead to more novel, interesting, original ideas. I have worked in the K-12 space where we developed a platform for students to build some of these higher order thinking skills. And more recently, I am doing research on how to bring some of the same cognitive techniques that have worked well with humans into AI to make LLMs better thought partners.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your background. Which brings us to this fascinating question. How can we get AI to be more creative rather than just give us standard, regurgitated, collated responses from its training data set? Right? Your paper looks at how LLMs respond and how we can have creativity within LLMs. And it uses something called the alternate users task, right, that you mentioned. So, for the sake of a general audience, what exactly does this mean? And what was your study all about?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. So, at a high level, I looked at whether LLMs can be nudged into thinking towards sort of more interesting directions or taking new perspectives, right? So for the paper, I focused on a very classic divergent thinking task, and I'm sure you've seen this before. It's called the alternate users task. And the idea is that you take an everyday object, it can be like a book or a bottle or a paper clip, and then you have to come up with different ways to use it, not its intended use. For example, like a book, I mean, obviously we use it for reading, but what else can it be used for? So could it be used to, like make a ping pong paddle, or could it be used as a planter to plant some new kinds of new plants into it? So most AI systems are very, very good at fluency, right? So they can produce very smooth, very polished answers, but that is not the same as creativity because a model can, it can still sort of circle around the same set of ideas. So the central question that I had was like, can we guide the model towards thinking in more novel ways, like less obvious ideas? And this is a big challenge in creativity in general, right? If you try to come up with something too novel or too original, then you can sort of land in this zone where the ideas are just kind of don't make sense. They look kind of bizarre or incongruent. So you want to be able to nudge AI in sort of more controlled ways. And so to do that, I used a knowledge graph called ConceptNet, and you can think of it as a map of everyday concepts and how they're connected to each other. And instead of asking the LLM to just go be creative, we give it an extra conceptual trigger which is like from this graph itself. So it's connected, but not like it's not directly connected, but also it's not too far off from the root concept. And what I found was very encouraging. Like these graph-based triggers, they helped the models generate a much more diverse set of ideas than it would otherwise. So I guess the point is not that with creativity is not about making AI more random. It's about giving or nudging the AI to explore different pathways. So that sort of was the high level, uh, summary of the paper.
That sounds amazing. So giving AI better pathways. That's a great idea. But then there's also this growing anxiety that people have that as these AI tools start getting better and better, we tend to outsource all of our thinking to AI. And then you see a decline in human thinking. Your research and your work, how does this fit into this larger concern? And what are your thoughts on how we can prevent this from happening?
I think that is the heart of the issue. So AI is incredibly useful. We all know that. I mean, I use it, and I know, we all use that a lot. But if we simply ask AI to just complete the work for us, whether it's like writing a report or an essay or creating a presentation, I mean, yes, you're going to get the output, but you're not really building the cognitive muscles to think deeper or to learn better in the process. And these higher order thinking skills like creativity, critical thinking, judgment, they really only develop by regular use. If you don't use them, these skills atrophy. And so this is really, really important now, I think, because creativity and critical thinking skills, they were already under pressure. They were already declining. There's research that showed how these scores have been declining. I mean, creativity has been declining for a few decades now, and I think critical thinking skills, we saw research more recently that those are declining. Which is why, and exactly like as you pointed out, there is an ever growing, a growing concern that over reliance on AI is going to make this problem much worse. So to me, I think the creativity is an especially important area to study because it's one of the areas where I think humans are absolutely essential in the process. So creativity is not about just producing something novel. It also has to have value. It has to be meaningful. It has to solve some kind of a problem. And that requires a lot of human judgment. It requires context. It requires sort of understanding what would resonate with people and what would not, what is feasible, what's not. And I don't think that's something that AI, at least as of now, can do by itself. So in the paper, like many other papers in this area, I mean, I focus more on the originality aspect. How do you, because it's also computationally easier, right? Like, how do you get AI to produce answers that are a little bit more varied, they're less common? But by itself, that's not enough. We still need, I mean, any idea, it still has to be also useful, and that usefulness judgment has to come from humans. And so I think the best system would be where AI is sort of helping you expand the space of possibilities so that humans can think better and then, sort of co-create and solve that problem together.
Thank you. Based on what you're saying, how would then AI design look like if we don't want to replace human thinking, but we want to augment it? And how would these systems evolve?
So I think the first thing is the main thing I would say is that we need to shift from this mindset of like, I want AI to solve the problem or give me the answer, from that mindset to I want AI to help me think better. So it's all about how it helping us think. So if you just imagine, like AI is not just doing the work that you ask it to do, but it's also helping you explore the landscape around it. So you might ask it a task, but it's saying, look, here are the three obvious things that you can do, but here are some five less obvious ones, ideas or directions that you haven't thought about, or here's a concept from a completely different domain that might help you, that might spark some new ideas. So it's suggesting directions that you yourself did not come up with. And I think that's where it's the true power lies, right? And in some sense, that's the high level goal of what I want to do and what we try to do in this paper as well. We're using this conceptual graph to identify new directions of thought. And obviously, it's coming up with ideas, and some of them are, or I would say quite a bit of them are actually very good ideas as well. But that's just the start because we're using this sort of this conceptual space to explore. It's giving you answers from that from these paths, and that becomes more, the whole process becomes more visible, right? It's interpretable. You can see that an idea emerged from combining these two or three different concepts, and then you can use all of that information to further strengthen your thinking or your idea even more, right? At the end of the day, I think you still have to be the judge. Like the idea that the AI gave, yes, it's a good start, it's a good possibility, but now you may have some additional thoughts around it and how you can make that better. And then you can kind of go and start sort of co-constructing an idea. And I think that's where the real power lies, right? The AI should be used to help people see possibilities, see ideas, directions that they would not have thought of themselves. So I guess to summarize, I would say like, I'm an optimistic person, so I would say that, yes, we all know AI can, accelerate the decline of human thinking if we use it as a shortcut. But it can also help us reverse the decline that we have seen so far in creative and critical thinking by designing it in the right way as a scaffold for effort. So in the end, it comes down to whether we want to intentionally design systems where humans play a very central role in thinking and decision making. So I would say that's the larger promise of AI.
Thank you, Pronita, for that interesting and very enriching conversation. So, my key takeaway from this is that AI is best and most valuable when it amplifies human thinking rather than try and replace it. And to do that, one of the ways is in which where we get AI to provoke and bring up new angles and new concepts that will help us think better along those lines. But it's up to the human to have the final decision or the final outcome. So our thinking is still valuable.
Absolutely, you're exactly right. It's like you said, it's about amplifying our thinking, right? We may be thinking in a few different directions. Maybe AI is now helping us think deeper, better, broader, in so many different ways. But I think that's really the crux of the work here.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us on the show and for sharing all your insights. It's been very valuable for me and I'm sure for our listeners as well. So thank you
Thank you so
once
much
again.
for having me. Thank you, Suchi.
Bye.